like the content we bring you about the heavy metal world, please like, subscribe, and comment to help us grow the channel.
How's it going, everyone? This is Lana Teramae from Metal Express Radio. Today, my special guest is the one, the only Toryin Schadlich. He's here to talk about the band's brand new studio album, The Third Dimension, which will be released in January, so stick around for the full interview. The band's previous album, Delirium, focused on darker subject matters such as death and disease, and the songs were longer. So what was the inspiration behind The Third Dimension, and how does it compare to Delirium?
So Delirium, that was actually our second album. So yeah, it is definitely a lot darker, but with the new one, because the second album was so dark and it's just so overdone with a lot of thrash bands that find in that genre. You know, it's all about, corruption and heavy topics. We just want to steer away and do something a little more fun. So a lot of the inspiration for the songs is more with like media, like video games, movies, just kind of, something a little bit lighter, something that's not so overdone, I guess, Yeah. So just, and there is like other topics on the album too, like personal relationships. And then, there's also, a song on there as well that, just kind of pokes fun at the metal genre as well. So we're just trying to have a little bit more fun with this album, I think, than doing something so serious.
You're talking about the ThrASh TiLlDeTh track, yeah? The one that...
ThrASh TiLlDeTh. So it's kind of an inside joke with the name, just kind of poking fun at the genre. But yeah, that's the track that would be, kind of the fun, one of the more kind of goofy tracks on the album.
I feel like that song in particular, I feel like it doesn't just relate to heavy metal, thrash metal people, because I feel like there are people out there that think their genre of music is better than everyone else's, so I feel like it's relatable to everyone.
Oh, absolutely. Because there's definitely like elitism in any genre for sure.
Definitely. The music video is a whole lot of fun. So who came up with the concept for that video?
So yeah, there is kind of it's an interesting story with how we came up with the concept. Well, not really interesting, but yeah, it is kind of funny how we came up with that. So all we had for the video, like for the idea of it, was, well, we wanted someone to kind of be taking themselves a little bit too seriously, so that's our new guitar player Nick in the video. And then like how we came up with that, like we just had a microwave that our bass player had, and was like, we should smash this for a video. So we kind of came up with the whole concept of the video, just trying to figure out how to smash this microwave and have it kind of somewhat make sense in the video. So that was kind of how we came up with that. And, yeah.
Ironically enough, the scene where you guys smashed the microwave, the dun 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 dun, that's my favorite part of the video.
Excellent. Yeah, we were glad that a lot of people found that as funny as we did.
Yeah, of course. Speaking of Nick, he's the newest member of the band, yeah? He replaced Brendan, is that right?
Yeah, so he's the new guy. So yeah, it's been interesting, having a new member, especially someone coming in and placing a founding member of the band. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does he bring to the table?
Well, he does a good job, I think, of filling the void that was left after Brendan quit. But he's someone who is quite experienced in playing this genre of music. We've been playing shows with his other band for quite a few years now. So it just kind of made sense having him step into the role. He does a good job of playing all of our back catalog. He actually, like, when he joined the band, he, like, while he was learning all the songs, he actually tabbed out, like, I think, like, a good 80-90% of our back catalog. So he does a lot of that as well. And then, yeah, he kind of, because Brendan, he took on a lot of the writing in the band as well. Probably, in the early days, Brendan, I'm going to say wrote 90% of the music. And then, it became a lot more collaborative as time went along with me and Dave, contributing things. So he was able to take a little bit more of a backseat. So it's, made it that, kind of good for Nick stepping into the role of writing as well. So yeah, it's, I guess that's basically what he brings to the table is, more writing in a very similar approach to how previous members, wrote.
Oh, that's good. So the transition was pretty smooth. Went by pretty smoothly then.
I would say so.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so going back, because I know Brendan recorded his parts before he left the band. So, speaking of the recording process, what was the recording process like?
Recording process, so it was quite a bit different than how we normally do things. So we normally we would go into the studio and we would just get everything done over the course of a week. So this time around, we wanted to take a different approach and do things ourselves a little bit more. So we just went into the studio and we just did drums this time at the studio that we normally record at. And then we actually did all the guitars, bass, and vocals ourselves this time around. So yeah, it was a lot of fun and a lot more relaxed this time around doing things that way, I find.
Oh, okay. So instead of going to the studio, it's just like recorded at your own time, like separately.
Yeah. So we did it all just at my house, and yeah, everyone would just come in, and I just kind of help engineer things and along and stuff like that. And then we still got our engineer or our Johnny from MCC to. He actually wound up mastering the album as well. So, just for a bit of continuity, because we actually went with someone else for mixing this time around as well.
Would you consider recording another album the same way, like that way again, or would you rather go back to like how it was the previous way, like going back into the studio doing like the old school way?
We really like doing it this way. This time around, so I think we might continue doing it that way. Just just because we were able to really focus on the performance of the album, and it wasn't so there wasn't so much pressure, I guess, to get everything in the moment as well. So there's if you kind of hit like a roadblock, it's kind of nice to be able to come back to things, I find. So I think we might continue doing things this way.
I mean, if it works, it works. So.
Exactly, yeah.
What are your favorite songs in the new album?
Sorry?
Your favorite songs. What are your favorite songs from the new album?
Favorite songs on the new album. It's tough to pick because they are like quite different, but I don't know, like they're all I like a lot of them, for different reasons. And some of the standout ones are to me would be like Interdimension and Scars. Some of the ones that are a little bit more collaborative, because there are some songs on the album that were more collaborative than others, and I do find that the ones that were a little bit more of a group effort, stand out to me personally a little bit more, which I guess would have been Scars and Interdimension. And then actually also the instrumental was kind of a fun one to work on as well.
I was gonna mention that, but like, is it Afel Omen or is it Afel Omen? How do you pronounce that?
Afel Omen.
Afel Omen. Yeah, I really like that one. So how did you guys come up with that song?
So that one, So I was around for just a little bit of that, the writing process of that one. But with this album, we wanted to make the songs a little bit more shorter and to the point, rather than longer and a little more epic, I guess, than Delirium. So we kind of just took all the, kind of the elements from from Delirium and put it all into one song, rather than having, there's a lot less like intros and kind of clean sections on all the songs. So we just kind of took all those. We kind of just reserved all of that for one song, rather than having more slow intros and stuff like that on the shorter songs.
Yeah, that one in particular, the Omen, that one, I think it balances out the heaviness, but also shows off the band's melodic side.
Yeah, that was kind of the intention as well. Like that's something we've done on the previous albums as well. As we kind of tried to make it a bit of a trilogy. So there are similar kind of themes, I guess, that we follow on each album. And yeah, each album has, we have kind of all the songs, and then we have, the one kind of less serious track on the album. Then we have the epic kind of instrumental on the first three albums as well. So yeah.
So I think even Deathbringer, that shows off a lot of, it's a lot, very melodic, and I think it, especially with Dylan's vocals, it's not as harsh, if that makes sense. Like, cause
Absolutely, yeah. Like that's kind of another theme that we kind of went with on every album as well. There was always kind of that one old school kind of new wave British heavy metal kind of theme song. And that one was kind of interesting because on the first two albums, it was I actually wrote the more melodic tracks on the previous two albums, being Sanctuary for the Mad and Apocalypse Dawn. And then on this one, actually, it was Brendan that wrote the more melodic tune. And it came together quite nicely. Like, I was a little skeptical of it at first, just, I think we all kind of were, just because it is a very different song. But then I do find that Dylan's performance, like, he kind of takes a lot of the songs that we were a little bit skeptical of, and he makes them a Hazzard song, I find.
I mean, he has the voice for Hazzard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of melody, so like, who are some of your favorite bands growing up, and like, who your inspirations?
We all have a lot of different inspirations. Iron Maiden and Metallica and Megadeth are kind of some of the bigger influences on the band as a whole. Personally, I like a lot of bands. I liked a lot of those new wave British heavy metal bands, and when I was kind of really getting into metal, I kind of dove into a lot of the more underground bands. Like Vicious Rumors and Flotsam and Jetsam, and Testament and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of the old school like thrash bands as a whole. Like Testament and Forbidden. And stuff like that, and then of course, like the classic bands like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and then growing up, I listened to a lot of hair metal as well, and that I think is kind of what inspired me with a lot of my guitar solos, was a lot of hair metal bands, believe it or not. And then actually, same with Dylan as well. Some of his favorite vocalists are Sebastian Bach. So there is like kind of there's kind of a conflicting influences there, because like back in the 80s, all the hair bands and thrash bands kind of hated each other's sounds. So it's kind of cool, nowadays, kind of bringing elements from genres like that, that are polar opposites, into kind of bringing them together.
As soon as you said hair metal bands, that's when I went like, oh, the melody, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of bands like Iron Maiden and Flotsam and Jetsam, they have a specific mascot, and you guys have a mascot too. Mitzi, is that how you pronounce them?
That's the name of our mascot as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so speak speaking of that, do you think it's important for a band to have a specific mascot or logo that people can latch onto, or should it just be about the music?
I think it does help people. It helps. It gives something memorable. Yeah, for sure. And it kind of helps. I think with branding as well. And it wasn't really like an intentional thing. We were just kind of drawing inspiration from bands like Iron Maiden or Megadeth with their mascots like Eddie and Vic, and there are a lot of bands that do it as well, like even Dio with I think the name of his mascot I think is Murray on the Holy Diver and Lost or Last in Line albums, right? So yeah, I think it was kind of an unintentional thing that I think helps with branding. Is having something like that, like either a logo or a mascot to go along with it. But yeah, we were just again kind of that wasn't like the intent with it. It was just drawing inspiration from our idols.
Is that how you guys came up with Mitzi?
Yeah. So the name Mitzi, actually, it was again kind of just another inside joke. So we used to call actually we still do, we call Dylan's dad Mittens. So then we just as a joke we just shortened it, and that became the name of our mascot.
Okay, so Dylan helped come up with the mascot.
Yeah. Yeah, so Dylan's I guess at this point would be the only original member of the band. So he would have been there for like creating like the logo and the coming up with the concept for Mitzi as well. Yeah.
I don't know if it's just me. Do you see there's like this Megadeth thing about the album covers and the logo. Is it just me or like am I?
There's definitely the heavy inspiration from Megadeth for sure. There was a lot of that. Like that was a huge one for I guess myself, Dylan, and Brendan for a long time was Megadeth. One of Dylan's favorite drummers is Nick Menza, and Brendan was very heavily influenced with his writing with Megadeth's riffs, and then I've always been a huge fan of any kind of impressive lead player, like I say, like the hair metal bands and stuff like that. And so Marty Friedman was someone who always stood out because I was also a really big fan of the shred movement of the '80s, like I said, with the hair metal, but then also like the neoclassical guys like Yngwie and Marty Friedman and all those types of players as well.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to bring that up because like as soon as I saw the album covers, I was like, yeah, it definitely gives me a Peace Cell vibes. So yeah, I just
and
bring that up.
that kind of goes with the artist that we got as well. So we got Andrei Bozkov, who's seems to be fairly well known for doing a lot of the artwork for a lot of thrash bands. He's worked with bands like Municipal Waste and Skeleton Witch and lots of bands like that.
Earlier this year, Hazzard, they contributed 2 songs, Skin Peeler and Stella Scream, for author Joey Heiner's horror book project titled ThrASh TiLLDeTh. I've noticed that there's some like connection between the heavy metal genre and the horror genre. So, what is it about heavy metal and the horror genre that go well together?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm not too sure, but you're definitely right. Like they do kind of go hand in hand. I think it's just probably the aggression of both of them, I guess. And then I guess kind of the way that a lot of like horror lyrics kind of make its way into the genre as well. There's definitely like inspiration from like movies and stuff like that kind of makes its way into I guess thrash metal in particular. Bands like Evil Dead. I don't know if there was an intentional, thing there with the, the name, with stuff like that. But yeah, it does just seem to kind of go hand in hand. They just mix really well.
I mean, I had a feeling you guys were into horror movies as soon as I heard the dun 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 in the ThrASh TiLlDeTh music video.
Yeah, yeah, like that was more of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, but yeah, I guess again, yeah, it just kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So, do you have a favorite horror movie?
Favorite horror movie? Probably My Bloody Valentine, the original one. I like that. I guess there's kind of like a cheese factor too. I guess that goes along with horror movies and metal too. That kind of goes hand in hand. It's not just the horror aspect, but it's kind of the cheesiness of for me with the horror genre, the kind of the more cheesy ones, and the classics like the slasher flicks. Those ones I always found quite entertaining. So yeah, I guess My Bloody Valentine. I guess just kind of with the because I guess also being Canadian, that one I find kind of entertaining.
I mean, nothing wrong with being Canadian.
Yeah.
I mean, we're also Canadian, so a lot of great bands came out of Canada.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what's next for Hazzard?
What's next for Hazzard? Well, I guess with the album coming out, that's we're hoping that one does some good things for us. We've been looking into doing some shows next year to support the album release, and we're just kind of in the works with doing that right now. So yeah, we're hoping to do some more shows and stuff like that, and hopefully expand outside of our where we're normally playing as well. So just kind of working on that, and then of course working on new material as well. We've actually started working on some new material right now, and it's been kind of fun working on that, with some new writers as well. And then also too, Dylan's been working on like kind of rehashing some early Hazzard songs from even just previous lineups of the band as well, that he Dylan was very a part of with writing. He's actually a very a really good riff writer as well. He's a phenomenal drummer, but he's also he's not that bad at guitar, and really good at writing riffs. He actually contributed a lot of riffs in the early days off of the Victimize the Innocent EP, and even contributed some riffs on the first album, Misleading Evil. So he's got a couple of songs from the early days that he's wanting to kind of bring back that never made it onto the earlier albums as well. So we're going to see what the current lineup does with some of these early days songs as well as writing some more fresh stuff as well.
So it's interesting you say that Dylan, he writes some of the riffs, because actually when I interviewed Sean Drover about a year ago, he's the drummer, but he did write some of the riffs for his own solo material too. So I have noticed that it's quite a common thing for drummers to also play guitar and write their own songs as well.
Absolutely.
Toryin, thank you so much for this interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you like the content we bring you about the heavy metal world, please like, subscribe, and comment to help us grow the channel.